Salute. For the first time in the work that we do here, we have a guest, and I'd like to give you an insight into what is happening. We are going to talk on the subject of rape. But before we zero in on rape, we want to first and foremost commend and thank His Excellency the Governor of Cross River State, Senator Professor Benedict Ayadi, for signing the VAP law. On the 31st day of December 2021, he signed the VAP law. The VAP law is the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law. And Cross River State's VAP law is very, very heartwarming, very detailed, very precise, and indeed elucidates and covers other aspects that may seem to give offenders room to maneuver and gain freedom, as opposed to face justice and have it served as it ought to be served. Before we go into the details of that, with me is a human rights lawyer and, of course, the lead counsel of the Basic Rights Council Initiative, who over the years has proven his mettle, working for vulnerable people, the abused, and and of course won a couple of cases and served justice as it should be. And his name is James Ibor. James Ibor, it's good to have you here.
Thank you, Dana Mary.
Let's breathe. This is a conversation. I know that we live in very dire times. I mean, it is heart-wrenching and it is heartbreaking. In the space of 10 or 14 days, we have been privy to get rape cases of underage girls and ancestral, as it may seem, because, there is a father-daughter relationship here, as it seems. Now, let us talk a little bit about the issue of rape. The definition of rape in the criminal code law, as you said, is not as defined as it is in the Cross River State VAP law, if I'm not mistaken. Do you mind if I read it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it says, a person commits the offense of rape if he or she purposely puts any part of his or her body or anything else into the vagina, anus, or mouth of another person without the person's consent or obtained consent through the use of force, threat, intimidation, tricks, or deceit, uses any substance that can take away the person's ability to give consent or pretend to be the person's spouse or sexual partner. In a case of persons under 18 years of age, consent shall be irrelevant. We could go on and on, but what makes this different from the criminal code, from the criminal code law? Why are we celebrating this?
Yes, if you look at the criminal code law of Cross River State, and which has similar provisions in the Criminal Code Act, applicable in the southern part of Nigeria, and the Penal Code, applicable in the north. The distinguishing factor or the improvement here is that you don't need the Criminal Code Act talks about vagina penetration.
It's specific on vaginal penetration
to establish rape. But under this law, why we consider it a good leap and improvement in our jurisprudence is because if you put your hand in the anus or your penis in the anus or even the mouth, that is oral sex and the anal sex, that also qualifies as rape. And also making it criminal too. So, in fact, the punishment for rape in this law is actually
VAP law.
The VAP law, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law, makes the punishment is life imprisonment, and the minimum punishment is 14 years imprisonment, which is also an improvement. Rape is a felony. It's important to also add that if you look at the prosecution guidelines, which was a policy established by Attorney Generals of the federations, clearly states, I think paragraph 7 or 8, that it is in the interest of the state to prosecute every rape case because of the fact that the cases are just so many, and there's a policy now in Nigeria consciously to prosecute offenders just in case, in an effort to reduce the numbers. Like you said, within the last 14 years, we've recorded 7 cases in my office. That is just BROCI.
Within the last 14 days?
14 days, 7 cases.
And these are people who have come forward. They are people.
Yes, and we have a lot of them, hundreds of them, who will never report to anybody.
As heart-wrenching as it is, some of these cases do not see the light of day. I really want to zero in on other systems that are supposed to persecute offenders, that are supposed to help in the fight against rape. So far, so good, because this is your tough, this is what you do. Are you getting the needed support? It is one thing for us, the VAP, to have the VAP law signed and to serve justice to offenders is another thing. Are the systems, I do not want to be too specific, but are the systems giving the needed support? I'll give you an example. Okay, before you answer that question, if somebody encounters rape, what should the person do so that we get into the systems and their response?
Yeah. Rape is a felony. It's a serious offense. A lot of people have died or a lot are traumatized for life as a result of rape. So it is the seriousness of that offense that has made laws like this to come out. And there are also policies supporting this law. So because it's a serious offense, it's not any of those offenses you should gloss over or sweep under the rug. The reason why we encourage survivors and victims to always call out the rapist, call them out, report to NGOs near you immediately. It's always good because for some of these cases, evidence, for instance, to establish rape, you need you need to corroborate. The evidence must be corroborated. What I mean by corroboration is that it's not enough for you to say I've been raped. Your claim must be corroborated either scientifically or by a witness. And most times, the crime takes place in a place where there are no witnesses. So we now start looking for other circumstantial evidence, which must be so precise that a reasonable panel or even a judge will be so convinced that yes, the crime was committed. And most times, the court relies on scientific evidence, which is medical evidence or even conversations recorded or otherwise.
Okay, so that means if somebody has been raped, first the person should,
you have to report immediately
to the police station.
Yes, at the earliest convenient time. The earliest convenient time.
Okay.
Because it may not be convenient to report immediately, but at the earliest convenient time, you have to talk to the police or talk to an NGO that is supportive to tell you what to do to enable them not just preserve evidence, but also counsel you so you overcome the trauma that comes with it.
Okay, so first you get to the police and then the case will make progress from there. But honestly speaking, let me just break it down completely. So the Nigerian police, the medical institutions and all of that make up the team that will first,
Yeah, the strategy usually is that if you're a survivor of rape, at the earliest possible time, go to the hospital.
Okay.
Yes, because if
the hospital before the police, or I thought the police always has a medical facility.
No. The hospital. Preferably a government hospital. And where there are no government hospital, please, a private hospital. There is this saying that it must be government hospital. No. What is important is that you stay alive.
Yeah.
And there are so many ways of staying alive. Because we are more interested in your health, your future, your development, your well-being, than even prosecuting the alleged offender. So first, we have to keep you alive. If you are alive, evidence may be preserved that can be used to prosecute the alleged offender. So if you go to the hospital, a lot of things can go wrong if you don't go to the hospital. If you go to the hospital, what happens first is that a lot of there will be medical examination, and if need be, they may carry out maybe administer what they call a post-exposure prophylaxis, so that in case the survivor has STD or a virus like HIV and AIDS, you'll be protected, and that has to be administered within 72 hours of being exposed to such a situation. So, and also the fact that if there are any lacerations or injuries, it will be captured in the medical report. Then the appropriate treatment will be administered. Then you can now proceed to the police.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Then we now proceed to the police.
Yes.
Then I take it back to the question that we asked. This is a reality check because we need to understand truly, are we getting the needed support from the systems? It's one thing to have a fine law. The VAP law, I still commend His Excellency the Governor. This is one of the best things that has happened to us, protecting our interests as citizens. Now, are the systems in full support, or can we use this medium to appeal or to call for? Because an appeal, is possibly not the appropriate thing. We are citizens and we are deserving of the service. So
Like most other crimes, the police is actually ill-equipped to tackle this situation. They are poorly funded and poorly trained. So the biggest challenge we have working with the police to get justice for survivors of rape is issues of capacity, issues of funding. Most times you will have to support the police with resources to carry out investigation, which should not be. And many of them also do not understand what to look for in the course of investigation. So we are doing our best, but I think the police force has to do more. The funding is very poor. Is very, very poor. Also, the Minister of Justice. The Minister of Justice is also poorly funded. But most times, prosecutors will have to, use their personal resources to produce documents to file in court or even to contact survivors. So you see civil society organizations like Basic Rights Council Initiative, Child Protection Network, FIDA, 24 hours mounting pressure on authorities to do the needful so the survivor is get justice and the perpetrator is prosecuted.
Wow, fantastic. Well, I'd like to use this medium to please appeal to all relevant authorities to please do the needful. We cannot sit down and allow rape and other violence against people, to just have its way easy and be swept under the carpet. Justice must be served at all time. Once again, I'd like to thank His Excellency the Governor of Cross River State for signing the VAP law. It is one of the finest things that I think has happened because this covers a lot of areas from the interest of widows would be protected in children. I mean, it's amazing. I think that I think establishments should have a copy of this law. People need to know that the law is in place. All you need to do is make use of all the available tools. In the event of abuse, in the event of rape, I beg you, please do not keep quiet. The work is overwhelming. I know we may not be able to give you statistics, but every day, even in this moment as we speak, there's an abuse going on somewhere. It is extremely overwhelming. I mean, Barrister James, but this is your turf. Just so that you hit it on the head. I am only a volunteer, but Barrister James, what do you think we can do to minimize first the level of abuse that we see, rape to be precise?
Yeah, I think the public should stop excusing perpetrators. Well, by the time you say it was the way the perpetrator dressed, all the cases we've documented and managed. No one of the survivors from even research, documented research shows that it is the way anybody dresses.
I mean, babies who were molested,
exactly. So
boys who were sodomized, how did they dress?
Yeah. So, and it's never the survivor's fault. Rape is manipulated sex or sex without consent. Most times, the survivors and victims are manipulated and exploited or taken advantage of. So it's never their fault, and we should stop the victim or survivor blaming. So most times
that's one of the reasons they don't even come out.
Yes, and like the case we are currently handling, social media, a lot of people are calling me out that it's politically motivated. I don't know how, but like I said, we have evidence, and we just hope the police will do the right thing, and we'll have a date in court.
I'd like to thank you so much, Barrister James Ibo, for giving us this time. Once again, he's the lead counsel of the Basic Rights Council Initiative, an NGO that indeed takes his time out to clean society of the vices that violate our human rights as, citizens. Thank you very much again for coming. And I'd like to tell you that we have a law that covers your concerns.
This law, every woman needs this law.
Every woman needs
Every man also needs
You know the interesting part in this definition about rape. I know that people would naturally think, I like the part it says, if you put any part of his or her body or anything else into the vagina, yes. It says even into the mouth.
Yes.
For some
not just the penis.
Not
even
just the
finger,
penis.
For the purposes of deriving sexual pleasure. It amounts to rape.
Good. Please use this to teach your children. Sorry, I'm always very particular about children because I think that they are vulnerable, they are innocent, and sometimes they are totally clueless. It is your place to give them education. Every home should have this. Every woman, every man, so that we know our limits and we know when we are breaking the law. And of course, If you're found guilty, you'll go in for it.
So thanks to Her Excellency the Governor of Cross River State, thanks to CIWA, thanks to Project Alert, thanks to GPI and BROCI for making this, especially also the Governor, who sealed it on the 31st day of December 2021.
A fantastic gift for
this. This is a gift for you.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Merci beaucoup. Salut. Oh, no, I'm not done. I didn't give him his pen. Can I go on?
Yes, just make up from there.
Okay.
Then you sign out.
Okay. So, Barrister James Ibo, for being the first person I have to have a conversation with, I'd like to give you this pen. It's a fantastic pen. And it says she's one of a kind. I know you've been fighting a lot for women. You know, you have been fighting a lot for women, and we appreciate you.
So I'm not the she.
No, you're not the she. We are just reminding you that the she's are one of a kind.
All right.
And so please, each time you look at it, let it give you gusto. Be enthused to keep fighting.
I appreciate
Thank you so much.
All
right. Have a nice day. Keep signing all those beautiful things. All right. That's it. Salut. Have a nice day.